What's up? Hey. Yeah, we're live. You see us?
I can.
Oh, look at that. It says we are live. Yep. 5 minutes. Wait. That was good timing. Or your stomach just growled? Yeah. Had a good lunch?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty
Nice
good.
and fattened up to get hit a little bit.
Might
be a big meal before getting struck multiple
times.
times.
It's a big day today.
It is a big day today.
It's a big day. This is the biggest event since we launched the vets.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, the implications of what we built here is pretty big. So, we're going to get into that in about 5 minutes. We're just kind of starting a little bit early just to get people, warmed up. When the live stream starts at 1:30, we're going to talk about the app and what it all means, how it all works, the implications for not just your school, but for students, and then martial arts in general. Right, that's a lot of stuff to cover there. And then we'll walk through the app, like how to actually use it. We might have some people come in, and we have some beta testers that use the app. We'll get some of their thoughts. And then some Q&A, there's enough time. Yeah, that's what we're going to do today. All right. Let me see here.
I'm a very amateur cameraman, folk.
Michael is our head of marketing. He is doing the camera work. Say hi, Michael.
Oh, hello.
He's always a hoot. And yeah, let me see. So we got about 4 minutes left. So, the app. It took us about how long to develop? All in, probably about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And it's something that's never been done in any sport, this kind of concept that we've developed. I'm excited to talk about that. The challenges the team went through up until like midnight last night, you can see how hard they've been working. Right? So we're going to celebrate this evening with the whole team on all the hard work that they've done. But what are some of your favorite moments through the process so far?
Well, I think one of the interesting things is having everybody go through different phases of the testing that have been, running some events.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some people that have been like,
yeah, because people are actually using this.
People are using it already,
but it's all beta
at various phases. Yeah. So. Having to be like, oh man, I've got this event, it's in 2 days, and we really, really want to use the app, please, oh please, oh please. Yeah. Like, okay, well, cross your fingers, it's still in development, but use this. And the response has been wildly positive, so, and their feedback has been, really valuable.
Yeah, that was fun, yeah, and, anytime you build something, an app, especially when it's in the beta testing, there's so many glitches and bugs, and, there's different versions of iPhones and Androids and all that, but, they still managed to put on a great event, so kudos to our customers for able to work with early release software and for giving us that feedback. Yeah, so we got another 2 minutes before we officially start. Thanks for those of you guys that are joining us. Remember, if you have any questions at any time throughout the live stream, I'm looking on the side here because that's where my computer is, and I can see any of the questions that come up there. Actually, I'm going to start a watch party on my Facebook page so
Sure.
you guys can see it. Other people can see it as well.
A curiosity question I've always had about the app is, how did you get the idea for it? Like right at the very beginning, what was the origins of the app itself?
Yeah, so I think a big part of that is, like with the electronic systems in today's game, in the Olympic world, you might see a hit that you think should score, or a hit that, maybe you didn't get quite the result that you would expect to get just from watching the match. And sometimes because the hit didn't register at all, or sometimes because the hit wasn't hard enough to register. And that's part of, some people's frustration with some of the current systems that are out there. And so the original idea was like, what if you could sit in the stands and kind of see, a little bit behind the curtain. And so whenever there's something that you didn't quite understand, you could get the information that would actually explain it to you. And so it's kind of an argument for transparency, basically. From there, we kind of realized that, this is actually really, really beneficial for training as well, because anything you would want to know in competition, you would want to know in training too. And then you can do that outside of just the competitive game modes, but you can do that, in your training modes when you're training, your reflex or your stamina, or just your raw power, things like that. So it's all kind of started with our experience from the Olympic world and the competitive side, and then taking that backwards into more of a training and more of a school application. But it's been an idea we've had for a long time.
Yes, sir. Okay. 1:30. We will officially start. Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. My name is Master Ghafour, co-founder and CEO of 2020 Armor.
I'm Master William Sexton, co-founder and COO of 2020 Armor.
And it's a big day. It's Friday, but more important than that, we're releasing the mobile app. Now, it's not just a mobile app. It actually does a lot of really, really cool things. And I'm excited, just as excited as when we launched and released the vest. That's how big it is. I think of a big of an event as the launch of the vest, which was also a very big event as well. So, yeah. I have an agenda here I'm going to refer to.
One quick question before you get
Michael is on the back, by the way, head of marketing. If you hear his voice, that's his lovely voice.
Why, hello. A question I have, just because I know that some people who are going to be joining us are not necessarily familiar with the vest itself.
Yes.
Can you tell us just a little bit about the vest before we get into the app?
Good idea. Our beautiful model William here is wearing a vest one size too small. That's the one we have at the office.
It's a little large, or a little small for me.
Yeah. So the vest is a product that obviously that you wear around your chest, or you can put on a punching bag like a Bob or a Weight Master. Measures the impact and shows the results of the impact on the scoreboard right here. There's 10 different games: 5 2-player, 5 1-player. And so the whole beauty of what we built here is everything is built in. You don't need an app, you don't need any external device, which is really important at a club setting because you have 30 kids, one instructor, you don't have time to go around and mess around trying to sync things and all that. So we had that in mind when we built this, and we said, okay, but there is value to connecting a phone, but it has to be super simple, and we'll show you how easy that is, and then what the value of all that can happen. So we got the one vest here. I have another vest over there when we play the 2-player games, and we'll demonstrate. But so that's what the vests do. And so you don't require the mobile app to make the vests work. The vests are still independent on their own, but this will give you another layer of feature functionality. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So a big idea behind why we make the products that we do in the way that we do is in our own schools we realize that most schools don't end up actually practicing with any of the various electronic systems or training aids or competitive systems that are out there. You compete with them, but most of the time you can't actually run a class with them because they typically only run one mode, like they're typically only running the current Olympic Taekwondo rules, which sometimes that's very different than your training regimen, so you can't really use it for alternate purposes. And they're very difficult to set up. And even if you're going to use them, you're probably only going to run, one match at a time because every match requires its own television screen and things like that, right? So the idea here is, really being able to get the electronic systems and the benefits that you get from training with them in the classroom easier so that you can do it on a typical class night. You're not just reserving it for, your 1%er, high-level Olympic pipeline type athletes. So a green belt can benefit from electronic type training just as much as a black belt can. And making that more available and more beneficial to people is really a critical goal for us.
Yeah, so on to the benefits, right?
Yes.
So we're going to show you the app, but we want to talk about the high-level benefits. Number 1. Do you remember what number 1 is? It's a test.
Yeah, so I believe number 1 is, this is a great way to double your referrals. That's the number 1 for everybody.
Double your referrals. That's a pretty bold statement, right?
Well, the idea is, there's a lot of different approaches that a lot of schools make as far as how they get recruits, how they get new students. Whether they call it VIPing, where you go hand somebody a coupon or say.
It's always some sort of credit system. Right?
It's always some kind of trade, right? So it's like, come be my guest and I get a month free for bringing you in, or
the kid doesn't care.
Uniform
paying
or something
for it,
like
right?
that.
Yeah.
Right. So as school owners, what we realize is like all I want is everyone in my school to bring in their best friend. And I want that to have a really, really high success rate. So I don't need all my students to bring in 10 or 20, unqualified leads or random people off the street. I want every person to bring in their best friend that they want to train with and I want to execute on that at a really, really high conversion rate.
Yep, yep.
And so that's where the doubling comes from. So, you know, you can imagine, well, I guess I'll let you get into the sharing and video side.
And how you do, so
and how you actually do it.
Yeah,
I guess
so
that's
we'll
the
show
teaser
you that. Yeah, that's a teaser. So that's our bold statement, and you know, I think we're pretty qualified to make those sort of statements. You own a club. Tony, our co-founder, he's got 4 clubs. We're both national team athletes. We know how this game works, and we're going to show you how that's possible. So doubling your referrals is number 1. The second benefit is tournaments, right? One of the best comments we got was this gentleman who has the vest, and he was beta testing our software, and he simply used the sentence, "Why aren't all tournaments like this?" And he had this 7-year-old, imagine this, a 7-year-old child explain to the audience what was going on, right? And imagine just having a 7-year-old child explain just regular scoring, and that's already difficult.
Yeah.
But he had a 7-year-old actually explain to the other parents what was going on. So it was something that was very easy to use, very easy to understand, and he ended quicker, no technical glitches, and it's an experience that we don't really aren't familiar with in the WT type of the world, you know, fast, efficient, on-time tournaments.
Right. As well as increasing the excitement level, right? Because
The
there's a different level of engagement that everybody can have, both from the audience and the athletes themselves, when you're getting more information on every hit. Right. So it's not just did they touch, it's like how good was it? Was it valuable? Right?
Yeah, and it's not an underqualified teenager in the corner, right, that's making that call, which is very frustrating as a parent. Right. So it's the equipment that's making the call. And yeah, so it's all right, there we go. What we're used to is the high performance world. We're obviously not high performance anymore. And one of the things we just had a big lunch, so excuse our stomachs. One of the things that I wish I had, and this is one of the things one of my coaches said to me, is if you can always train smarter, that's always better, right? And especially as you age, you know, you can't train necessarily as much as the younger athletes that are 18, 19, 17, you know, coming up. We could do things like, you know, just okay. Yeah. All right. Can you guys see us? You see 2 of us?
We'll each take a screen.
Okay. There we go. Okay, we're back. The thing I wish I had as an athlete is the ability to measure, train smarter. So if we can measure things like reaction time, power, stamina, that would do a bunch of things. One, if we got injured, which we do, how do we know we're back 100%? Right. So if I know that I had a benchmark from a reaction time, power, stamina, and I had an injury and I came back, I could measure against that and be like, okay, I'm good to go. Right.
Yeah, that's the one that I think most people out of the box can really get the most benefit out of.
Yeah.
Is if you just have kind of a snapshot of where you are when you're at a high level. If you have some kind of injury, whether it's, you know, knee or leg or you know, or maybe you're just trying to benchmark where you are week after week, whether you're improving or declining, or whether you're maintaining, or if you're using that to inform how you're going to periodize before a big game.
Right. Yeah. Periodization is huge for high performance athletes. And then also just casual athletes. Right. It's like, am I getting better? Right. Am I physically getting better? We don't have any way to measure that today.
Yeah.
Right.
And in a sense, that becomes kind of a score unto itself.
Yeah.
It actually helps people keep being encouraged, right? So like, something that people are kind of familiar with is something like Peloton, right?
Right.
Well, I hate riding an exercise bike, but just the fact that I can actually see where I am and what I'm doing might make me want to do that more, right? Well, we need the same concept in martial arts because not only are we doing work, but we're doing work that involves us getting hit, which nobody likes, right? So when you're, think about how unattractive of an idea that actually is when you're trying to convince somebody, hey, you should take up this sport. By the way, you're going to get hit how many thousands of times. You're not really going to know exactly how well you're doing until tournament day.
Right.
That's actually a really unattractive thing, and we do it. We continue because we love it. And we try to convey that to people.
A lot of people don't.
That's a hard thing to sell. So giving somebody, minute by minute, kick by kick, that feedback and that progress. It's just a self-motivating kind of thing. Like they can check it whenever they want. They can see their improvement, and now it's not, you're not doing all this work, and maybe you can't feel the improvement, but you got better. Right now, you have some evidence for it.
And me being retired now, it's to work well with your adult program. That's what I used to motivate myself because I don't compete, right? I don't have anything any tournaments to go to, and now I compete against myself. I measure my stamina, my power, my reaction time to see how I'm getting better over time. So we're going to share that with you guys. We have a couple questions here, and we will get to those in a second. But now I want to do a walkthrough of the app. Okay, I'm excited. Got here my phone. Oh, that's my daughter and my son and my other daughter. But that's not what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a couple things. I'm going to show you first this concept of a profile. So everybody has a profile that all their data gets saved to. You'll have avatars, some really fun ones. A picture avatar, an intro avatar, and a winning avatar. I'm going to show you 4 games, 3 one-player game, 1 2-player game. That's what the 1.0 app is going to launch with. And we're just going to show you right here and how it all works. So it's very simple. So I'm going to go over here. Michael, why don't you maybe come on this side? Yeah, then I can see what's on the screen. Okay, so I'm going to open up the app. Okay, first thing it's going to do is I'm going to sign up because I'm already signed in. This is what you'll see when the app is first opened, okay? You're going to want to create an account, and you create a gamer tag. Gamer tag, if you played, PlayStation 4, Xbox, it's like a nickname, right? You enter your gamer tag, you put in your password and your PIN, and then you log in, okay? I'm going to go ahead and log in with my existing account. Okay, my gamer tag is Jasper King because I don't know why. That makes no sense, Jasper King.
You want to go ahead and show them your password too?
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put my password. Although this is very secure, we still do not share passwords. That's lesson 101 for anything online. So you can see here the app now. You have the games, the 3 one-player games, and then the 2-player game there. Stats, this will be coming out later, okay? And then profile. So I've already added some of my avatars and videos here, but this is my picture avatar when I play a game. I'll show you that one now. We actually play a game. My intro video there, I'll show you how that works, and then my victory video. My real name, my club URL, that's going to be important when we talk about the doubling referrals part. PIN, I'll talk about that's about in a second, and then password. So let's play Reflex. Okay, so if you want to know what the game is about, you actually just, there's a little video there that plays that reminds you how to play the game, okay? And then there's a button down here that says play with scoreboard, okay? I'm going to go ahead and click that and ask you for 3 things. Your gamer tag, you can choose to leave it blank if you just want to play a quick game and you don't want to, save your information. You're just running through games really fast. You can just put nothing there, and I'll just put player 1. Or if you want to put your gamer tag, I'm going to go ahead and put mine, just because I want to show you the avatar piece.
So one reason you might not want to put your gamer tag in if you're running back-to-back matches or back-to-back games. So for instance, if you're running a tournament or you're running an in-house event,
right,
you might just leave that blank.
Right. Okay, so I put the levels. So remember, you can do level 1 through 10. 10 being the hardest, 1 being the easiest. That's the sensitivity of the vest. The length of the round, I'm going to put for 30 seconds. And then you hit start game. Now it's asking for the PIN. Okay, this is going to ensure that it is the right person playing. So I'm going to put in my PIN. And then it says, go ahead, Jasper King, that's my username, tap against the vest. So I'm going to go ahead and tap against William's vest here. You see how it lit up blue? And that's it. That's as quick as it is to sync up. And now the game is played here, and the results are on the phone. So this is the reaction game. You can hit yourself. You're too slow.
Okay.
See, look, I have another one. Good job.
Oh, did I get him? Oh, I was too weak.
Purple is fake.
It's hard to hit yourself.
On the right here is how fast. Skip, Michael. You can just keep back. Stay back. On the right here is how fast you're hitting. And on the left was how many successful hits you had. Once the game is done, this is only a 30-second match. We will show you all the data from the match, so or the training session. So what level you're on, the length of the round, your average reaction time in milliseconds, how many successful attempts we had, none, and then what those values are over time. So you can, and then there's also a timeline view of everything that also gets shown. Okay. So that's for your reaction time. Now I'm going to show you the one for stamina. Okay, and it's called heartbeat. I'm going to go ahead and play with scoreboard. I'm not going to put in a gamer tag. I'm going to put on level 2. Put this on for 20 seconds. I'm going to start the game. And you see how quick it is. Again, you double tap. Once the lights go blue and fill the screen, that means it's ready to go. Okay, William, you want to keep on hitting yourself for about 20 seconds? Okay. Yeah, on the right is the number of hits. On the left is the stamina score. Okay, and you can see, you can put this on a large TV screen. Almost 3, 2, 1. All right, nice job. So once the game is done, again, all the critical information about the match or the round is there. There'll be a graph of the hits and how strong they were over time. And so you can see at the beginning he started off strong but kind of went weak at the end. And so we can see that if you know, stamina is all about, did you have the same amount of power at the beginning than you did at the end? And this graph can show you that. All right, let's go ahead and play the last one, which is hit meter, all about power. So this one measures your power. So I'm going to go ahead and play with scoreboard. I'm going to put on level 2 just to be nice to William. Put on 20 seconds and start game. It's saying go ahead and tap against the vest. So you just double tap like that. Then it'll sync up. And okay, this one again is all the data it's going to show on the screen in real time. So it shows you the power in joules. Okay, so it'll show you your hardest hit that you did in this round and what the last one was. And then once the match is over, we'll give you a nice summary of that round, similar to the other games, and also a timeline view. All right, so that was the one-player games. You want to get the camera back on me, Michael? So that was the one-player games. Now, go over here and show you the two-player game. And this is kind of like those ones were exciting, but this is like the exciting one, right? So we're going to show you energy scoring. Okay, so I'm going to need another vest for that. All right. So Michael, why don't you come back over here? Maybe face this way. I'll come this. I'll guide you, my friend.
Thank you.
Follow my arm. I'm going to go to games. I'm going to put 2-player. Okay. I'm going to go energy scoring. And you notice in energy scoring, there's 2 options. There's scoreboard, which just shows like a regular scoreboard like you saw in the other matches. So if you're having a tournament, you could use that mode. If you're having a tournament, you could also use this mode. This is in-game reality. Okay. This is the one where we put you inside a video game. Okay. So it asks for just some basic information. The gamer tag again, you don't have to put anything if you want just a quick match. But if you do want your intro video and avatar and all that to play, you can put that in. The level, and then the same thing for the second player, and then the time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put in my...
So remember, just like when you're using the chess cards without the app, You can actually have each chess card on a separate level if you want to make an intentional mismatch for training purposes, or if you want to make a handicap for whatever reason that you want. You don't have to have both players fighting at the same level. So if you have an instructor versus kids, or you really want to do some scenario training or situational training, you can make it much more difficult for one player than the other.
Great. And so let me get back on my phone here, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the information in. So you've got Jasper King versus Sush. Sush is William. That's his name. And I'm going to hit start. It's going to say, Jasper King, what's your pin? I'm going to go ahead and put it in. And it says, hey, Sush, what's your pin? I'm going to put his in. And it says, go ahead, Jasper King, and tap against your vest. So I will be Jasper King because that is me. Okay? So I synced up. And then it says, hey, Sush, why don't you put on game 1 and push play. Okay? And then we double tap to sync up. Okay? And then you can see our cool intro videos played. William's is much more interesting than mine. And then what we have here is in real time an overlay of the match. So as we get hit, so William, you want to go ahead? Yeah, that's right. As you get hit, you can see, we'll move back a little bit, Michael.
Sure.
And then so we can see, William, go ahead, William, hit yourself again. Okay, we can see in real time what is going on in the match. Okay, I think you put yourself on a really high level. Here we go. Finish it up. Oh,
There we go.
I like your winning animation better. And when the match is done, it plays the avatar winning animation, and then that video is actually stored in your gallery. Okay. So now here's that video replayed again, and you can share this on social media. Now what's important here is notice on the bottom right is your club website, right? That's what's going to get you those referrals that we talked about earlier on. So the kids are going to record this, or you record your kids doing this, and then they will share this with their friends. And the idea is that will, that will be the key or trigger to actually get them to walk into your club, because before that they just had to kind of tell them, right, or show them some sort of flyer. But now they can physically show them what they do.
The video that we just took right there probably isn't the best example of that. I know you have a video, I believe, on there of like some kids that we videoed before. Can we show them one of those?
Yeah, that's a good point, because we were trying to do a demo, and obviously we're not competing. So I'm going to show you a match of some kids that we did at a club the other day. Is it this one? Yeah. So
you can zoom on that. So this is like a broadcast mode. This is like how you could imagine this being on TV, or you can see them more directly as if they were the characters in the video game. That's really what this is emulating. Is you're seeing the score alongside the action, and the kids or the participants are the characters. So that's really the big appeal of this. So you can imagine how if you have a video, you're 9 years old and you have a video of you participating in something like this. And where you are the character in the video game, that's something that's really naturally shareable. And so now you're not having to beg them to go out and get referrals. You're not having to beg them to share content of, hey, what do we do in the class? And you're not wanting for content of like, okay, what's something cool that we could show off, and constantly trying to come up with new ideas, right? It's something that's very, very natural. It's not scripted. It's very genuine, right? So their excitement shows through. And that's something they're going to want to show all of their friends all the time. And that's a much more natural lead-in, right, than, hey, come try martial arts for 30 days and you get a free uniform or something like that. So.
Right. So the 1.0, so that's an overview of the app. And so the 1.0 version of the app, and we'll be releasing updates probably weekly, for sure monthly, but more likely weekly at the beginning. And so we'll add more and more features. One of the questions somebody asked is, will this work for the point scoring game, game number 5? The answer is yes. It'll also work for game number 3, race, which is a non-continuous sparring, point scoring. That will work for that as well. So for folks in karate, ATA, martial arts, that'll work for them. And then WT Taekwondo would probably use, if they want to continue using that type of sparring, we'd use number 5.
Right, so the idea behind this is that, a lot of the striking martial arts actually really have a very common core. So we're not pigeonholed to any one style, regardless of, whether you're mostly Olympic and you do a little bit of traditional, or you're mostly traditional, or whatever mix and match that you might have in your own school. There's a mode for everybody.
Right. We're going to see if there is. We had a beta tester, Master Vorpal, see if he's available now to bring him in on the live stream. I'm going to go try to find him, Master Sexton. You can continue while I send him a message right now.
I'll riff and buy you some time. I'll carry the team.
Thank you.
So maybe this would be a good time for if we have any questions. I don't see the question line.
Yeah, one of the questions was, can you add a backdrop to the in-game reality?
Oh, okay. So like a full-on like Tekken Street Fighter level? Yeah. So one of the things that we're actually looking at is customizing the interface so that maybe you have a different theme for your event. And that would actually be kind of an add-on that you'd be able to get for the app as well. So we have a couple different ideas. One of them is kind of like a Tron theme, so that the framing and the overall style might reflect that a little bit different. I know a lot of you guys run events that are a little bit different that way.
Yeah, but that's a very good question, and that will actually be coming up pretty soon. So yeah, there'll be themes, different themes. Like we haven't officially announced them yet, but you can think of like Tron or like a comic book theme or something like that.
Right.
And so that the heads-up display or the in-game reality that you saw will kind of be customized to that, and just even add more interest to the already interesting view.
Right. One of the things that we didn't get to talk about a whole lot was when we're talking about tournaments, you've got to distinguish between whether we're talking, public, like invitational tournaments that you're opening up to a lot of other schools, either in the area or even nationwide, or whether we're talking about inter-school tournaments, or maybe intra-association tournaments, right? So when you're running these kinds of events, a huge limitation, especially the smaller event you have, is how do you get the staff to actually run the event? And if you're running a typical system, you have to have many different judges, many different referees. It takes a lot of volunteers. Anybody who's run tournaments knows that's one of the biggest issues is how do you get all the people that you need in order to run these, and that's only to run sparring and poomse, just like the most bare bones kind of traditional tournament. So one of the things that this really opens you up to do is because everything is actually embedded and you have the ability to project this to a scoreboard really with one person. You can run many, many more rings and many more divisions that can be income generators for you without having to, call in over the PA, black belts, come judge in ring 6, right? And that also raises the quality of your event because, especially for adults don't tend to be judged by, children, and none of the black belts want to be judged by, who judges the black belts, right? So if you have your black belt division going, then either you have dedicated reps for them or they're being judged by people who aren't qualified. And this is really a much more critical issue on the local side of events. But that's where you end up making your money. A lot of times, if you have seasonal or quarterly tournaments, that's a really big deal. So what a lot of school owners will do, and what a lot of people have had success doing, is actually setting up multiple events that are based on the multiple game modes, and actually running it as a full-on division and another ring. So whether they're trying to beat, a standard that you set, okay, all the green belts have to get this score, or whether they're going to play it 2 times, and if they improve on their score, right? There's a lot of different ways to run these, especially once you have the data and you have the information coming in. Those are the tournaments that generate the most goodwill, because now it's not one and done, right? It's not you go lose your first sparring match and then you're gone for the day. But at the same time, you're not clogging the same rings by, let's say, making a double elimination. That causes its own problems. So having lots of different areas with lots of essentially carnival games or mini games is a really powerful thing. So, Master Ghafour, do we have?
Oh yeah, we got Master Vorpal here.
Here we go.
I'm going to switch views here to go to my laptop.
He has much more experience.
Is this working? I can't hear you though.
Hold on.
There, I can hear you now.
My bad. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, you can take it. Yeah. All right, thank you. Oh, you have been a beta tester for a while now
Yes, sir.
of the app, and you had some of the very early versions. Can you just share with the beta app and the limited functionality that you had so far, just share some of your experience so far with everybody?
Well, first we got to know who he is.
Oh, sorry. This, I know him very well. Yeah. Yeah, this is just some guy that we kind of found to do a live stream for us. No, Master Warple has been a 2020 Armor supporter and customer for quite a while, one of the first customers. And he owns a club in Wisconsin, sir? Milwaukee?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Well, Brookfield.
Taekwondo in Brookfield. And we asked him if he could come on today and share some of his experience that he had at his Taekwondo school, and just let us know, how it's been working for you so far. And again, this is a beta app, and just your honest experience would be fantastic.
My experience has been awesome. Like we had it from the early stages before the app was even released, and my kids very much enjoyed it just from that standpoint. And when we brought in the ability to put it on our TVs and our screens, I think that took my kids to the next excitement level. Seeing that bar go up and down, and then being able to actually see yourself in a video game. My kids had a great experience with it, and that was something that we used quite a bit to not just maintain interest, but kind of just for my school, it heated things up. You know what I mean? Because they knew that I would put this out on Facebook, and they knew that I would be able to bring back and say, hey, this is what this guy did and this guy did. So they knew it was kind of a permanent thing, and they had a record of them winning or losing. So it really helped them kind of push harder in that fight. And it's sometimes it can be a challenge to get people excited about sparring. So it really helped me for those kids that didn't always get into sparring as much as some of the other kids did.
Right, and you guys had a Fox News come by and do a segment for you too, right?
Yeah, we had one of our local newscast people come out and put the Hogu on him and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think part of that is the reason why the local media got interested is because it's something that the general public can understand right away, right? Like how that concept of scoring works.
Yeah, the way that we brought it to them was gets kids away from video games, in their house, in their basement, whatever, and puts them into video games where they're actually doing something. That's something they were really interested in. When I brought up that to them, that's when they were like, oh yeah, there's a good story. So that was a key point of getting kids out from the TV and into the TV essentially.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good tagline. I really I like that. Out of the TV into the TV. That's good. Okay. Yeah, and then I know the version that we gave you didn't have the ability to put the website and stuff. So I'm looking forward the final version and seeing how that can impact all your referrals and how you run your tournament. So anything else, sir, on the app? Any feature requests live for everybody?
Requests, I guess, just to be linked into all those games. Game number 10 is a huge game for us. The Power Strike game, being able to visually see that, I think would be rad. My kids would love to watch those power bars, digitally go up there and stuff like that. And even all any of the games really, even Guitar Hero would be pretty wicked on a TV screen. So I think that integrating those apps into those games into the apps, I think is going to be a huge deal.
Yeah. Well, this release does have game number 10, the power game on there. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I think that's going to be a winner
right away. Yeah. Okay. Great. Any other?
And Heartbeat as well. You get both your requests; they're already there.
Yeah.
In the initial launch, so both Game 8 and Game 10, they're coming out in the initial launch.
And that's going to help in tournaments too. For game stations and things like that. Just to have a TV at each game station will be awesome because we did a game station at my last tournament.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you talk to that point a little bit about how you're using the alternative divisions and the alternative stations? Because I know you have a lot of experience with that strategy.
Yeah, well, at our tournament, we ran a 2020 all tournament. With the whole system was 2020, so we had 3 rings, and then we had 1 ring off to the side where we had about eight Hogus set up. And I had black belt. I had 2 black belt girls running. I think it was 6. I think it was 6 Hogus running up. And kids could come in. They paid an extra $5 to have that like a gaming tag essentially. So for the whole day, they could go over and play all the games that they wanted to. So that was a hot spot at my tournament. That was where a lot of people hung out. Because I don't know, I go to a lot of tournaments and there's a lot of kids that don't participate in Taekwondo, and they're just kind of running around under the bleachers making craziness, and that kind of gave those kids a place to go. And from a business standpoint, it paid for half my gym, so that was pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and especially there's a big problem for tournaments is wait time, right? So if you've got so many hundreds of people wanting to compete, their division, there might be an hour between their divisions or an hour and a half, or depending on how you have your event set up. I think everybody's had that experience being at a tournament that runs until some ridiculous hour.
Way too late.
Yeah, and so they have something to do, and so rather than sitting there and constantly being tired, exhausted, and what do they call it, hangry, right? They got something to do and something to focus on, and so now they're wanting to come back to your tournament next year, rather than be like, wow, do I really want to go back and spend another 4 hours sitting in bleachers?
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
divisions, right?
That alone solves a lot of my other kid doesn't do Taekwondo problems, so what do I do with him? So I think that was a big deal too. And you talked about wait times. I mean, just having 2020 alone cuts down your tournament by hours. Like you have people ready with the next gear. You don't have to mess with all the getting data linked up and all that stuff. It's just 2 buttons and you're in. Like that was a huge, like the sparring portion of my tournament ran flawless because you're hitting buttons, syncing up, and your tournament's that much faster just because of that. So start integrating all that into it. It's awesome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Thank you for making time for us today. I appreciate
no
your insight and sharing that with everybody.
Yeah, I love you guys. No problem.
Thank you, sir. Love you too. Take care.
All right, man. Later.
Bye-bye. All right. Thank you, Master Borpool. One question that was asked is the pricing. Whoops, forgot to talk about that.
Yeah.
I guess that's a very fair question. So there'll be kind of 3 pricing tiers. One, they'll be free. So the app is free to download, and you'll get all the features that we showed today for free. So the in-game reality, the scoreboard, ability to show on TV, the measuring of your reaction time, power, and stamina.
And the other thing that we actually didn't talk about is the ability to push software updates directly to your devices.
Yes.
So,
let me get into that right after the pricing. Yeah, but that's a very good point, Master William.
That'll be included on the free version where we can actually.
That will always be free. Yeah, updates to your vest will always be free. Updates to the mobile app will always be free as well. So yes, anything that you need to run a tournament more efficiently, measure your stats, all the stuff that we talked about will be free. What will be paid will be if you're taking your analytics to the next level. Right? So if you really want to collect all your data, have it stored for you on the cloud, measure your how were you this week versus last week, all that different those sort of things. More complex analysis, that would be a monthly fee. So that would be more for high performance athletes, coaches, people who may want to train at home, or a little bit more serious.
A little bit more serious, a little bit more scientific. The data that, if you're just training on a recreational level, you might not actually even really care about. But if you're really going for, I want to be a professional, that's where you would get the most value.
Yeah, so that's one. That'll be a monthly fee, and then there'll be it's called in-app purchases. So these are one-time fees, and this would be up to you to do, or the student or the parent. And these will be like the themes or like the overlays. So the one question that someone asked was, can we theme the app? And the answer is yes. And those would be like either like $1.99 or $2.99 per theme. That's completely optional for you. Again, you don't have to purchase anything. That the app is free to download and free to use. But there will be extra add-ons that will have a fee.
Right, and that's one of the things a lot of the instructors like, because they want to kind of customize what videos their students are making and sending out to their friends. Right. So different ways to customize that and make that more, what you want to put out there. This is a form of a marketing campaign, right?
Right. And so the ability for you to put your club logo and website on the bottom right, so that'll be there. That'll be part of the free version. And then, Master William mentioned updating the vests themselves. How do you do that? So you do have to update the vests on our website. When you go to 2020armor.com/app, we'll have a link there that will that you'll have to physically connect your vest to the computer and update it. And once you do that once, then going forward, all you have to do is you can just use your phone to update the vest. So you never have to connect to a computer again, and everything is done over the air or OTA, and that'll be very convenient. And all the updates again to the vest will be free. Someone asked as well, will it work with the headgear? Yes, when we have the headgear coming out, everything will all work together. The app, the vest, it'll be very, very simple. Yeah. See some of the questions here coming through. Yep, that's right. Thank you, Master Powell, for answering some of the questions for us. Be sure to label the buttons displayed on the vest. Okay, well, the vest, okay. Great. Yeah, so I guess in review, before we kind of close things off, we'll answer the questions as they come in as well. 3 things. Double your referral, make your tournaments run much faster, and what gets measured gets improved. Tracking your reaction time, your stamina, and your power, and again, stuff that's never been accessible in martial arts. There have been ways to measure things that maybe at high performance centers or kind of different wearables, but this is the first one that's actually on a vest with the most realistic application possible, and so we're very proud of that. And yeah, we'd love your feedback. So for the current customers, we'll send you guys an email with letting you know when the link is live. For those looking to be customers, please reach out to us through email or Facebook, or we have a live chat on our website as well. And yeah, I think that's all the stuff that we have to say. Michael, did I cover everything? I think so.
Yeah, I would say pretty much everything is covered. There was a question about the 2020 Armor stations, just a little bit more detail about what they are.
Yeah, so that was the one we talked about with Master Vorpal. I think we wrote a blog post about that, Michael. If you can post that one, that was the gaming stations.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so that was, Master Aaron, the concept of having just a dedicated station where you just put the vest on a bob, and you have like one of your students manage that area, and then the kids that are normally just running around falling off of bleachers, you get them a place to go to and play the games, and you can charge for that if you want as well. And so that so we've got the link there in the comments that you can see in a little bit more detail.
Very, very popular if you put that near the holding area, if you have one for your tournament, because that is usually where you have the most frustration at your events, is in your holding area. And it's also probably the space where you're either spending the most time if you're having trouble with it, or if it's running well, you spend the least time there. So either way, this is a big triage area of your tournament. So that's what we found is a really great place to put it, and a really popular area to put it.
Yeah.
Because that's where people have a lot of tension either before they go spar and they want to kind of get a level head, or they're bored out of their minds.
Yeah.
So either one of those is good things that you want to be treating.
And now with the app, you can make it even more engaging, because you can put it on a big screen TV and have other people see from a wider angle what's going on. So that'd be cool. And then they can actually see their raw numbers, like what the actual reaction time is, what their actual power is in numbers, as opposed to the graphical representation. One question was, will everything still work as it did before? Do you require the app for the vest to work? The answer is no. You do not require the app to make the vest work. Everything still works the same as before. If you just have the vest, it will work the exact same. The app is optional. It just gives you all that extra functionality.
Something I heard about fairly recently was people being excited to use in-game reality, not just in like sort of tournament events,
right?
But when they're doing sort of like bring a buddy events,
Mm-hmm.
to sort of add that extra element of taking it outside the dojang.
Right. Yeah. So that's a very good point, Michael. So when you have your in-house events, not tournaments, but you bring a buddy, pizza night, parents' night out, putting that on in-game reality. So get them to dress up as anything. Like your favorite Mario character or your Street Fighter character or something like that, and then
Several schools did the Halloween parties with them.
Yeah, Halloween party, and then get them to do in-game reality like that, and get them to be silly. Get them to make like silly fireball moves and all that kind of stuff. And when they do it, they hit somebody for fun, and then the health bar goes down. And get them to be creative around that. And then once that they're done, you have a nice little video with your logo and website in the bottom right that they would love to share. And now all of a sudden you have a marketable piece of content from your buddy night, from your birthday party, that will go above and beyond and again continue to bring in those leads and referrals.
So one of the big values of this, you got to remember, is that this is also about kind of changing the way that specifically kids, but also certain adults are actually thinking about the way that they practice. So it's not so much about hitting and getting hit. It's more about playing the game. You are the character. The way that you press the button on the controller is you put your foot on the pad, right? This is a big controller button, essentially, right? So when you kind of change the way that they're thinking about it, their willingness to share it, their willingness to participate changes as well.
Absolutely. Do you have something, Michael?
Well, I was just thinking of a couple of school owners that I remember talking to. Were saying their dropout rate when sparring was introduced was like half.
Yeah, that's right. So we see a big drop out in martial arts schools when sparring is introduced. But as soon as you translate it into, first of all, if you bring using the vets in itself reduces that dropout rate dramatically, because again they have a actual measurement of what's going on. You put the in-game reality on top of it, where you're not only measuring it, but you're putting them inside in the video game, something that they're very comfortable with already themselves and very comfortable in communicating with other people. That's a common language with other kids. It's video game. Martial arts isn't a common language outside of their martial arts school, right? Outside of their own friends, they don't know how to talk about it.
And often martial arts is, depending on what your background is or where you are, or what time frame you grew up in, martial arts has been both really cool at certain times and not cool at all in certain times, right? So when I was growing up, there were certain places where I felt like I would tell people, okay, yeah, I'm a martial artist. Then I was around people and I never wanted to say anything because I thought they were going to, treat me like I was a geek wearing pajamas doing these weird moves, right? So giving them a common language that they know is going to be acceptable and that they know it is not just neutral, but actually a positive. Like, nobody else has the ability to be this kind of character.
Yeah, this doesn't exist in any other sports.
Yeah, I know other sports. So your
basketball,
varsity baseball player at your high school can't even do this, right? The coolest of the cool guys can't do this.
Right.
So it's something that's very, very unique and is very iconic.
Right. Yeah. And so we really encourage you guys, as the instructors. The way we suggest starting it is do it for the kids. Show them once, and they'll take over for you. Trust me. The more every video that you create will be a self-generating referral engine. So as many referrals as you want to get, that's as many videos as you should do, right? So it's really up to you guys. And then once you do it once and your students learn, they'll do it for you, and this becomes part of a regular routine in your class. And
the best part about it is that it's free.
Oh yeah,
it's zero cost organic marketing, right? So it's actual real content. Like I said, it's not scripted. There's no charge for every time you want to make a video. You can make one video a day or 20 videos a day. We don't take any charge or any cut. So now you're not necessarily having to do things like targeted ads or pay per click ads or things like that, because you're going straight to the people who give you the highest return, right? So all the consultants will tell you, your best source of students are your existing students. So really tapping into them and doing it at no cost is a game changer.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the app will always allow you to do that. That will always be something that is free. Yeah, yeah. And that's all we had. Any last little trailing questions? I'm kind of looking at the question list here before we sign off. Michael, I think we got to most of them, right?
I think we've answered most of them, and we did dive into high performance.
Yeah, we talked about high performance. Yeah. Oh, one other thing about high performance, we will be creating world standards. We will be collecting data from the best in the world and getting their reaction time, power, and stamina. And we'll anonymize that information. And now you'll be able to see what the best in the world, what the reaction time, power, and stamina is, right? And we have no idea. They don't believe it. They don't even know what it is. So now we actually have a benchmark that we can compare ourselves with, and then going into a game or periodizing for a game, we have a goal to try to strive towards, an actual physical metric goal that we have to strive towards.
That's called the fit test?
Yes, it'll be a fit test. That's right. One of the questions is when will we be shipping? Yes, thank you. Great question. Yes, it is still mid to end February, depending on where you are in the queue. And yeah, so thank you for your patience for everybody. I know we had a hiccup with our manufacturing in December, and we have resolved that, and so it is on track to be shipped this February. Can't wait to get it to you, sir. To you as well, sir. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. I mean, so you can, once the live stream is done, go ahead and continue asking your questions. We'll respond to them through chat. And as always, you can always reach out to us, 2020armor.com and facebook.com/2020armor.
Yeah, and if you guys go to our website, there's a little chat box in there that goes to, either myself or Ali or our sales manager, any of which can handle every question. So if we have any questions that we didn't get to, come hit us up.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Yes! Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. All right.